And welcome, KMS 8th graders, to a screencast on beginners spreadsheets. And we're going to be using Google Docs to create our spreadsheet. So if you were here for Friday, March 7th, you heard the intro to why we're using spreadsheets, kind of what they do, give you a little bit of background information. If you weren't here Friday, then I can just tell you in short that spreadsheet is a lot like a calculator, and whereas the word processor was used to help us write things, the spreadsheet is used kind of as a modern day calculator, a math type of tool. So anyhow, with no further ado, I'm going to start the screencast, and at times I'm going to ask you to pause the screencast so that you can go out and follow along. And when you're finished, you're going to have a spreadsheet that looks just like mine. And along the way, you're going to learn how to enter formulas, some basic data, labels and such, and kind of get a feel for how a spreadsheet really works. So here we are, let's get to it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is click on the Create button, and from the drop-down, we're going to choose Spreadsheet. And soon, Google Docs opens up a spreadsheet for us. And what I'd like to do is, I'm going to dismiss their comment right here, like so. And the first thing we should do is give it a name. And up at the top, we can click on where it says Untitled Spreadsheet, and we're going to call this Bowling with Friends. And this will be a bowling spreadsheet. It's going to help us keep track of some bowling statistics. So I think at this point I'm going to have you start off by moving around, and these are called cells. The letters that you see running across here, those represent columns. And if you were to scroll to the right, you'd see that the columns keep going through the alphabet. And as you scroll downward, you see these numbers. These are called rows. And where the two intersect, that's called a cell. So I'm in cell A1. Now over here, I'm in cell C5. So at this point, what I think I'm going to do is have you enter a label into cell A1. In fact, keep watching the screencast, and then you should be able to stop it at a given time and go back and enter this data. So make sure you're in cell A1, and we're going to give this a title. We're going to call it Bowling Statistics. And we're going to assume that you have been put in charge of keeping your bowling team's statistics. Okay, we're going to skip a row. We're going to skip row 2. And then in cell A3 through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to put 5 bowlers on our team. And really, I'm going to make up a couple bowlers, and you can put whoever you want in your spreadsheet. That doesn't matter. So I'm going to start off with Mr. Kleiman. He's going to be in my spreadsheet. Mr. Lorenzoni. Let's see who else is going to bowl us. Well, I got a bowl. Okay. Lance is sitting next to me laughing. All right. Should we let Mrs. Harry on our team, Lance?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll let Mrs. Harry be on the team. And we need one more from our school. What teacher from the middle school should we have?
Mr. Cross.
Mr. Cross? Okay.
No one else can think of.
All right. Well, we had a few more 8th graders we could choose, but you call it. So we're going to go with Mr. Cross. Now you can pause the screencast and go out and put your spreadsheet together so far. So remember, in cell A1 you got the title, and then cells A3 through A7 you have the names of your bowlers. Go ahead and do that now. Pause the screencast, come back. Now that you've entered the names of the bowlers, we're going to put our games across the top. We're going to start off in B2, and we're going to type in game 1. And then in a spreadsheet to move, what you're going to want to get used to is pressing the tab key. When I was doing these names here, I kind of left this part out, but I pressed the Enter key or the Return key, and that allows you to move vertically. As you work across the spreadsheet, it's more convenient to press the Tab key. Okay, so this will be game 2. This will be game 3. And then we're going to set ourselves up for some future statistics, and what we'd like to keep track of is the bowler's averages. So we'll just put average here. We'll set ourselves up for some more future stats. We're going to put a thing here for high score, low score, and probably series total. And later on, we're also going to learn how to move columns around so that maybe we had series total in a different place. Okay, I think I'm going to jump down to, let's say, B9. By the way, you might want to pause the screencast, and then go out and fix your spreadsheet so that you have those labels, those game 1, game 2, and such all the way across. So do that now, and then we'll enter these other stats. All right, now we're going to go across the bottom here. And for, let's see, I think each of our games we'd like to know the average. And what this will represent is if we were bowling as a team, a true team, and there were 5 bowlers on our team, we'd like to know in this cell what our team average was. Okay? We'd like to know what bowler had the highest score in their first game, which bowler had the lowest score. So this represents each bowler on our team. You know, did Mr. Kleiman have the high score? Probably not. Mr. Harry probably did, but we'll leave that out for later. All right. Average, high score, low score, and then let's go series. And this is our, let's not put a series. We're on a team series. So, all right, I think we're good. We could have put a team total in there, but for right now, we'll leave it at that. We're not going to finish the whole spreadsheet today, but we'll have this stuff anyway. All right, now your job is to fill in each bowler with a score, and all we're doing is filling in this little block right here. And your numbers do not have to match mine, right? But make up some fictitious scores for each of your bowlers. Do that now, and then when you come back, we should be able to compare notes and then teach you how to start doing the calculations. Okay, so we're back, and you have your scores entered for your bowlers, and some things I noticed along the way when I was editing. First of all, if you make a mistake in any of these cells, there's 2 ways to fix it. If you click in a cell and you just start typing all over again, it'll replace the entire contents of that cell. If you only have to replace one letter, like maybe I spelled Mr. Lorenzoni wrong someplace, if you double click in a cell, it'll put the I-beam cursor in there, and then you can edit using either your arrow keys or your mouse if you have decent name, and you can just snag one of those letters and fix it. So anyhow, that's how you make a fix to one of the cells that you might have entered incorrectly. So we're going to finish up here by calculating the average for each bowler. Now, there are some shortcuts to doing this later on, but for now, I wanted to get you used to entering a formula and being able to do basic statistics, okay, and being able to do the calculation too with the spreadsheet. Spreadsheet rule number 1, when dealing with data like this, we want to get used to using cell references in our formulas instead of using the actual numbers. So if I want to calculate the average for Mr. Kleiman, the correct way to do it is to add each of his 3 scores and then divide by 3. So if I added all 3 of those divided by 3, I would get his average. The way that you enter that formula is to first precede it with an equal sign. So on the keyboard, we're going to type in an equal sign. That tells the computer that what's coming next is an average. Okay, now in order to average up his scores, we're going to type in cell B3, right? Because that's the cell I'd like to add up along with cell C3, and then add up cell D3, and then divide that sum by 3. So a couple ways you can do it. If you like typing, you can type in the cell reference, B3, and then put your plus symbol. Another way to do it is to simply click on the cell. So if I click on cell C3, it enters that as an entry. All right, now I got to key my operator plus, and then I'm going to click on the cell instead of typing it for D3. And then what I want to do is divide all of this total by 3. And I'm making a mistake here. Hopefully you see my mistake. If you have some idea about basic math and order of operations, you'll spot it right away. But I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to hit the return key. And now it tells me that Mr. Kleiman's average is 209. All right, now that's clearly not true because if you look at my numbers, I've got 90, 86, and 99. There's no way the average is 209. So it makes good sense at times to do some common sense checks here of your formula. Okay, the mathematician in you tells you, hey, that's wrong. If I double click the cell to make an edit to it, you'll clearly see the mistake. What the computer is doing is it's dividing, and the order of operations on a computer works just like it does in math. It's doing the division before the addition. So it's taking cell D3, dividing it by 3, and then adding on cells C3 and B3. That's wrong. So in order to quantify this, right, what we're going to do is click in front of B3 and put a left parenthesis. And then we'll click outside of D3 and put a right parenthesis. See? Now it's going to take that sum and divide it by 3. That's the correct way to do the average. So now when I press return, it gives me his average. Obviously, your average is going to differ because you put in different numbers. Don't worry about the numbers after the decimal. We'll leave those there for now. Okay? In a like manner, even though there are a couple different ways to do this, for spreadsheet beginners, 101 spreadsheets, I'd like you to enter that formula for Mr. Lorenzoni as well. So we get used to entering formulas and quantifying things. So in his case, we're going to use an equal sign, and I'm going to put the parenthesis in right away, ahead of time. All right, now I want to take and add up cell B4. Okay, now here's a trick. I don't even have to hit the plus sign. If I click on cell C4, I'm sorry, in Excel you can get away with that. In Google Spreadsheet you can't. So I guess I do got a key in my operator. So I'm going to add up cell B4 plus, I hit the plus sign, C4, put the plus sign, and D4. And then I'm going to hit the right parenthesis and divide that sum by 3. Again, in future lessons, we're going to learn how to do this a little bit more efficiently. But for today, to enter 5 formulas manually, this makes sense. You'll get good at it. So we need to learn to walk before we can run. All right, now we're going to finish up. We'll key in Mr. Harry's average. Again, your average is going to differ from mine because you have different numbers. But as long as you look at those numbers and you can see that they make sense, then that's good. And we divide that sum by 3. And I got an error. Let's try that again. Equals, left paren, the cell plus the cell plus the cell, right paren, divided by 3. There we go. All right, equals, left paren, the cell plus the cell plus the cell, sum, divided by 3. And then the last one, the cell, whoops, forgot my left parenthesis.
Oh, this looks fun.
It's not bad, Lance. Not bad at all. All right, this cell plus this cell plus this cell, entire sum divided by 3. And that's how you make a division sign, by the way. I'm going to left that part out. All right, now here's the power of the spreadsheet. Okay, you've entered your spreadsheet, and we're going to change one of these numbers. Let's say Mr. Cross, instead of 150 for the first game, had a 190. Okay, when I press return to accept that new number, watch what his average does automatically. So the 175 magically changes to a 183.3. Okay, that's how powerful spreadsheets are, right? You don't have to, take a calculator and do these by hand. I mean, that's what we do. We use placeholders or cell references in our formulas. So for now, that's where we're going to leave it. We've done an average for those bowlers. And then when we come back next time, we'll show you a couple of shortcuts and start introducing formulas, functions, and fills. So that's plenty for your first day. When your spreadsheet's done, I would tell you to save it, but you don't have to. It saves by itself in Google Drive. So, all right, good job.